So I have a tendency to just overlook certain newer tools. And I don't know how long I went without noticing this one, but I'm really glad I finally tried it. It's a spring-loaded nail set. My buddy Jordan at Sunnyside Millwork pointed it out to me, and I just had to get my own. Nail sets themselves are overlooked tools for DIYers. So I thought I'd make a quick video on how they work and how the newer spring-loaded options make them even easier to use. And that's what I'm talking about next on the Honest Carpenter Show. So nail sets are an extremely old tool that help us finish driving nails into wood or other materials. When hammering in nails, you can only get them driven so far before you start bashing up your surface. On framing, this might not matter, but on trim surfaces, you don't want hammer marks. You're better off leaving the nail head exposed just a tiny bit, maybe 1/16 of an inch or an eighth. Then you bring in your nail set to finish driving it, or countersink it. Nail sets usually range in a few sizes, from 1/32 at the point to 3/32. The different sizes help drive different fasteners. They're essentially designed to keep the nail set from slipping off the head of the nail. For instance, some larger trim nails have pitted heads. You can see the little dip on top. This pit helps hold a finer nail set in place. Look at how the narrow point fits cleanly into the pit. When you're countersinking the nail head, the two mate together to give you tons of traction. It drives in with much more control. However, if you use a wider nail set, it won't mate as perfectly with the larger trim nail because it can't fit in it or around it. But you'll notice that these larger nail sets actually have a pit of their own in the point. And this makes them much better for driving really skinny fasteners like brads and pin nails. The pit on the nail set fits over smaller brad heads, locking onto them. Now you can drive your brad in cleanly, leaving only one small circular crater. This is why nail sets come in pairs or trios, and why you really want to try to keep a couple on hand if possible. Using them is very easy. Hold them at the same angle at which the fastener entered the board if possible. This will create direct line pressure through the set and fastener. Then just a couple gentle taps with the hammer will get the fastener sunk just beneath the surface. There's no need to countersink much more than a 1/16 of an inch. This is enough to create a neat crater which you can then putty or spackle over with one swipe. Nail sets are indispensable for carpenters, and I always carry a fine set and a blunt set in my tool belt. That covers most scenarios. I really thought that was all I would ever need until I was introduced to these spring-loaded sets. These things look like a gimmick, but the first time you use one, you see that they're insanely efficient. They work on the same premise as nail sets, except they don't require the hammer. Instead, you just hold the point of the tool against the nail head with your offhand and pull back the spring with your dominant hand. Then, let the spring go. The action launches a driver pin encased in the spring. This pin taps the back of the other point with a shrewd, fast knock, and the point transfers that energy straight into the fastener head. It countersinks so cleanly, it still amazes me every time I use it. Sometimes brad pressure isn't exact, and you wind up with little proud fasteners everywhere. Lining up on them with a nail set and hammer can be tedious. But the two-handed approach of the spring set lets you hit these things quickly and accurately. And if you don't sink it in one knock, just do it again. It's very forgiving. The set I bought off Amazon also came with this awesome little gadget. Same premise, but it's more like a metal punch, and it's for driving up hinge pins. Once again, this can be tedious with the hammer and nail set, and you can damage trim if you're not careful. But with the spring set, just put the blunt end in the barrel of the bottom knuckle, pull the spring, and let it wall up the hinge pin. It'll pop right up. And if the hinge pin is short or really tight, as they sometimes are, just flip to the longer end. It'll give you even more reach in driving up a stubborn pin. It's crazy how well they work for this application. The one area where they don't work as well as classic nail sets is driving down wider fasteners. Every now and then, you need to countersink a framing nail or common nail for some reason. The spring loads don't quite have the force for this. I'll still use my blunt nail set in this case. Just carefully align it in the center of the fastener and give it a couple really hard knocks from your hammer. Most fasteners will sink under this pressure. Problem fixed. So that's a little info on classic nail sets and the newer spring-loaded options. I love them both and now carry them both. But if I'm going to be doing a lot of brad nail cabinetry type work, I'll probably reach for these spring loads first. They're just so efficient for multiple nails. I'll link several of these products below, including the ones I have here. Feel free to shop those links, and remember that when you do, we receive a tiny commission at no extra charge to you. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to check back in for more videos coming up soon, and please consider subscribing and hitting that bell button to turn on notifications. That way you'll know the moment we post something. I'm Ethan James with The Honest Carpenter. I'll see you next time.